Now, we're looking now at competitiveness. Now, look at this. Ireland relies heavily on international trade. Explain three factors which affect the competitiveness of Irish-based firms in international trade. When we're talking about competitiveness, we're really talking about price competitiveness. So, number one, Irish inflation rates versus that of our competitors. If the level of inflation is lower in Ireland than in the firm's export markets, then the firm's goods are at a price advantage. Currently, inflation in Ireland is lower than the average rate of inflation within the EU. The value of the euro. If the value of the euro rises against that of other currencies, then the price of that firm's exports will rise. Transport. As Ireland is an island nation, these costs can be significant when exporting goods from Ireland and must be incorporated into the final price. Labour market. If the labour market costs in Ireland rise above that in export markets, then the additional cost may be borne by the final consumer, and this will increase the price of our exports. Government policies. Any actions by the government or the EU which impose further requirements on industry, which have cost implications for firms, will have the effect of making exports less competitive. I think 5 is plenty there, and just the first point in each of those points will do you. Now, here's a question that could come up now. Very interesting question in international trade. Outline Ireland's source of competitive or Ireland's source of comparative advantage. In other words, what do we have that others don't? 1. Educated and skilled workforce. Ireland has a highly educated and highly skilled workforce, which allows firms to set up here without encouraging huge training costs. A highly educated workforce can be innovative and come up with new ways to solve problems and have a huge effect on competitiveness. Absolutely. Right? A highly educated workforce are people who can think for themselves and come up with solutions. Corporation tax, which is tax on profits. Ireland's corporation tax rate of 12.5% makes Ireland an attractive location to do business because it increases competitiveness. And climate. The Irish climate is suitable for the production of crops and the grazing of livestock. This enables lower production costs, which increases Ireland's competitiveness. Okay. Now we're going to look at exchange rates. Now, so an exchange rate is the price of one currency in terms of the price of another currency. Discuss the possible effects of the Irish economy if the euro is declining in value. So if the euro is declining in value, foreign currencies are getting stronger in value. So let's have a look. Imports from non-euro countries. The price of imports from non-euro countries will increase, and this will result in higher import bill for Irish goods or a reduction in the demand for imports. It will be now more costly for Irish tourists to visit non-euro countries. Exports to non-euro countries. The price of exports to non-euro countries will decrease. This will result in greater exports to these countries, and it will be now more attractive for tourists from non-euro countries to visit Ireland. Inflation. Now, this is very interesting. With higher import prices, there will be pressure on domestic prices, which will increase. For example, higher oil prices. If we have higher oil prices, we have higher input costs, which will increase the price of our goods. Increase in wage demands. Increased inflation in Ireland, right, will result in trade unions negotiating more salary increases for their members. Changes in interest rates. The ECB, as the European Central Bank, with the intention of reducing inflation, right, will reduce interest rates in the future.